The world's first shirt-pocket-sized transistor radio was the Regency TR-1, made in the USA in 1954. After that, American radio makers flooded the market with cute little shirt-pocket radios, right? Well, no. No? Why not? Because, these companies later said, nobody wanted a pocket radio. Poppycock. What that is, besides poppycock, is an excuse. It is the American corporate excuse for why they were asleep while foreign competition was about to take over the entire consumer electronics industry in America. And they had another excuse, that foreign makers unfairly undercut them in the market with lower prices. I still hear gullible folks today trotting out those same corporate excuses. As you'll soon see, both of these excuses are dog-ate-my-homework excuses. In other words, they're lies. It's obvious the public wanted shirt-pocket radios. The Regency proved that. Even though with only 4 transistors it wasn't a great performer, people still wanted that radio that fit in a pocket. When the Japanese makers began offering radios that fit in a pocket in 1957, their sales success gave Japan a foothold in the American market, which would prove devastating to the American companies then still asleep. At those American companies, there is no doubt that some of the engineering types were saying to management, "Hey, we can do this. We can build them as small as the Japanese can." And no doubt some in the marketing department of those companies were telling management, "Look, we need small radios to sell. Give us a pocket-size model, not just the big honkin' radios that you make us call pocket-size, but a real short-pocket-size radio." But all through 1955 and 1956 and 1957 and 1958, the CEOs of those companies said, "Who'd want a pocket-size radio? Doesn't everyone have servants to carry their radios for them?" Yes, I know. I'm guessing that the CEOs of yesteryear were just as out of touch with the needs and desires of real people as they are today. But along about 1959, these CEOs and the corporations they ran could deny the sales numbers no longer. They finally began to feel it in their wallets, where their feelings are. And so, starting with this model from RCA, an American radio maker was at long last beginning to make a shirt-pocket 6-transistor radio to compete with the Japanese. Other American brands followed suit, like Admiral, and here's their first shirt-pocket radio, and the first Zenith shirt-pocket, released like the Admiral in 1960. What we're featuring today is another 1960 radio, General Electric's first shirt-pocket model, the quite beautiful P830 and 831 models. This GE was issued in a nice blue color as seen in this book on American shirt-pocket transistor radios, and this understated gray color, here shown as purchased in its original box. I imagine the lettering on this box would have been more visible when it was new, but hey, it's 65 years old. It says 6-transistor radio, General Electric. As with the RCA, which was sold in an individual box or as part of a gift set, which included an earphone and carrying case, the GE was sold in this individual box and also in a gift pack, as shown in this ad. This elegant little radio sports an underpainted dial, a technique not seen much on American transistor radios, with the exception of those made by the Emerson folks in New Jersey. They loved underpainting at Emerson. And this General Electric has an interesting grill pattern, not just holes, but slots that pick up the design motif of the dial. And this grill has an interesting pattern of overlapping circles to boot, which catch the light in different ways as you turn the radio. Inside, this GE mostly contains American-made parts, with the notable exception of the tuning capacitor, a plastic-encased Mitsumi made in Japan, as was seen in many, if not most, Japanese radios. The transistors are by GE itself and are shaped like little top hats and little ovals, two characteristic shapes of their early transistors. The warranty registration card asks a lot of questions. I can understand most of what they're trying to get out of you with these questions, but some are, well, beyond me. What they expect to learn by asking you what you did with your old radio, I can't imagine. The owner's manual proudly proclaims this shirt pocket radio to be the smallest General Electric radio made. One feature noted is its 2.5-inch speaker, which they say is, quote, 40% larger than in many similar pocket radios, end quote. Well, with this, they're trying to have it both ways, with a claim that this radio is both small enough for you and large enough for you. A neat trick if you can make it stick. And over here's the warranty, a 90-day warranty on parts and a 1-year warranty on the cabinet. The owner's manual continues with more details about the Conelrad dial insignia, cabinet care, and still more talk about product service and how to obtain it. It may seem odd to have so much emphasis on servicing an item that, if it broke, was typically just going to be thrown out and replaced. But no, thinking that is a misreading of history. This disposability of a transistor radio didn't happen for several more years yet, in the mid to late 1960s, when a pocket radio could be had for as little as $5 or so. In 1960, this General Electric radio cost around $30, which is, of course, hundreds of dollars in today's money. Not a throwaway item. So the American makers finally showed up in the marketplace with pocket-sized 6-transistor radios in 1960. At a price of around $30. The price of the Zenith model that year was, as advertised in Life magazine, $29.95. The RCA came in at $34.95. What would a Sony cost you at that time? Or a Toshiba? Probably a whole lot less, right? That's what we've been led to believe. So, well, let's take a look. Here are some nice Toshiba radios. This 6-transistor 309A model is $30. The next one's $34, then $30, then $35 for this horizontal shirt pocket model. All quite comparable in price to the 1960 American shirt pockets. Where is that unfair competition the American radio makers complained about? Here are Sony's shirt pocket radios for 1960. Their popular 6-transistor at $39.95, and a deluxe 8-transistor Sony for $49.95. And here's a 6-transistor shirt pocket radio from Hitachi in 1960 at $39.95. Well, there must have been other American-made 6-transistor shirt pockets that were way more expensive, right? How else could anyone claim that Japanese radios undercut the American brands? Let's see. Here's Motorola's first shirt pocket transistor radio, made in the USA, which appeared in 1960 at $24.95. Can that be right? It's right there in the ad. This Silvertone was made in Indiana by Arvin for Sears. A look in the 1960 Sears catalog shows it being offered there for $18.95. So this yarn that Japan undercut the American radio makers and drove them from the market is what? Apparently, it's just more poppycock. I submit that the key to understanding how Japan came to dominate the American consumer electronics business is not labor costs or unfair competition or any of the other corporate excuses people seem so willing to believe. The key to this understanding is the inaction in the 5-year pocket radio gap. That 5-year gap between the Regency in 1954 and the arrival 5 years later of the American-made shirt pocket 6-transistor radios. Why American makers would work so hard on miniaturization for their 1955 models and then just stop until 1960 is what? Inexplicable? Stupid? Well, whatever it was a gift to Japanese consumer electronics makers, and it gave them a foothold in the American market. By the time the American radio makers woke up from their snooze in 1960, it was already too late to stop it. Collectibles are history, and if we have any sense at all, we learn from history. So there is a point here to calling out American industry for lying to us and to itself. There's relevance today. Take, for example, the American energy industry. While energy companies in China are pressing forward with advancements in solar energy and wind energy and even modular nuclear, what are American energy companies doing? Do they even have green energy divisions? Why not? Like the Japanese in the 1950s with little pocket radios, China is making itself the future of energy, while in America we make excuses and drill, baby, drill.